Hello, this is Elizabeth Nsubuga from the College of Engineering, Computer Studies and Architecture. I am extremely grateful to our LPU for allowing me to attend this webinar on research advising and paneling techniques. Some time ago, I was in the process of composing a study that I titled Paneling and Advising, Context of Basic Parts of a Contemporary Research Paper. I am appreciatively happy to inform you that because of this webinar, I now have complete literature from start to finish for my study, and I'm in the process of restructuring my title. This webinar was conceived out of concern for the apparent unavailability of formal research advising and paneling training programs. Consequently, advisors and panelists performed their duties based on their experiences when they did their thesis. The webinar resource speaker, Dr. Genaro Japos, outlined significant steps that could be used as a paradigm to establish an advising and paneling training program to rectify this perceived deficiency. Among these were: 1. Learning current trends that guarantee a paper's acceptance to peer-reviewed publication. Number 2. Formulating new advising and paneling policies and procedures that will include applying modern technologies and acquiring non-directive research paneling techniques. And number 3, establishing mechanisms for foreign experts to assist research advisors and panelists. Publish or perish. Dr. Japos proposed 2 critical prerequisites to every prospective research venture. Topping that list is publishing. He acknowledged that any individual who is planning to set out on a research venture must have publishing in mind to get citations. Published work might help advance one's career, as one might be considered for academic appointments and promotions. Sign up to remain relevant. The second prerequisite to every prospective research venture is signing up to credible online research platforms. Dr. Japos could not stress enough how important it was for all researchers to strive acquiring critical skills for technologies of research. Presented here are some of the platforms he's encouraging every aspiring researcher to sign up for. OSID. With an OSID account, you will get an Open Research Contributors ID number that can be reflected in your abstract submission. Google Scholar Citation. With a Google Scholar Citations account, one can generate all citations of articles, save generated references in one's My Library. Gmail account. With a Gmail account, one can create Gmail signature to reflect contact information such as name, affiliation, contact number, and address. Dr. Japos is also encouraging researchers to become members of the National Research Council of the Philippines. I will now present some of the significant roles that must be carried out by the key players in the suggested paradigm. That is, the role of the advisee, the role of the advisor, and the role of the panelist. For the role of the advisee, Dr. Japos singled out two critical areas to be addressed. One, instructional inadequacies that cause inadequate research skills of advisees. Two, pre-oral preparation for students. I will now give a short synopsis of each one of them. Dr. Japos identified finding foreign and local experts to support advisees as one of the instructional impediments that cause inadequate research skills of advisees. He suggested that advisees list down the stakeholders of the study and find foreign counterpart agencies of their local stakeholders from the web. For the pre-oral preparation, Dr. Japos has the following recommendations. One, that the proponent memorizes the sequence of the contents in the research document. Two, that all contents relevant to the pre-oral defense is accounted for. And three, and that the proponent documents a video story of the research journey and uploads it to YouTube channel and social media. For the role of the advisor, Dr. Japos singled out the following critical areas to be addressed. One, basis for selection of advisor. Two, appointment of advisor. Three, strengthening thesis advising and paneling. Four, adapting non-directive advising techniques. Five, assessing research competence of advisee. And six, essential skills of advisors. I am now going to give a short synopsis of each one of them. Selection of advisor. The advisor uses his brain and the hands of the advisee. Dr. Japos highly recommends that advisors must be selected based on the research published and cited and not on the position in the organization or their level of education attainment. A good advisor should be positive and patient, for dissertation processes are difficult for all students. So, while navigating this journey, the advisor should be a motivating force, encouraging students to do their best and giving them clear indication when they meet or exceed landmarks. Appointment of advisor. Dr. Japos recommends that the advisor will only be appointed after the research title has been approved, and then a contract between advisor and advisee must be implemented. Formulating new policies and procedures to strengthen thesis advising and research paneling was one of the objectives of the webinar. Dr. Japos proposed significant steps to gear up this process, namely, one, that advisors acquire non-directive advising techniques. Two, that the school, and not just the research department, implement a quality assurance committee. Three, that advisors must aim higher acceptance for research conference and publication. He stressed that advisors must be aware of their responsibilities as co-authors during peer review, and he recommended evaluation of the research advisors. Adapting non-directive advising techniques. Dr. Japos concurs that non-directive advising is a long process that requires unlimited patience. But the merits of this process, namely high empowerment and resourcefulness, render it as an undisputed advising technique. Assessing research competence of advisee is one significant role of an advisor. The advisor solely prescribes what the advisee must do and teaches him how to execute every step of the research process. The premise is that the advisee does not know anything, so it's the duty of the advisor to teach. Dr. Japos suggested that the advisor could begin determining the advisee's competences by, number one, tracing his research and statistics teacher's research publication track record, and two, then he could interview the student on the activities and practicum done so far, and then ask him to explain how to select a research topic, how to write a literature review, how to write a research title, and so forth. Essential skills of advisors. To become a competent advisor, Dr. Japos recommends acquiring the following skills: peer reviewing skills, editorial skills, referencing skills, instrumentation skills, and many more. And last but not least, write for high impact journals and strive to get published to garner citations. For the role of the panel, Dr. Japos singled out the following critical areas to be addressed. 1. Evaluating the research panel. 2. Ethics of research paneling. 3. Non-directive paneling techniques. 4. Pre-oral preparation for panelists. 5. Diagnosing authenticity and ghost written research. 6. Questioning for higher publishability. 7. Questioning for citation potential. 8. Questioning for utilization and translation of research. And 9. Questioning for research ethics. I am now going to give a short synopsis of each one of these areas. Evaluating the research panel. As well as the advisors, Dr. Japos stresses the need to evaluate panelists, that they are not only knowledgeable in the field, but that they manifest professionalism, tact, and cordiality. Ethics of research paneling. About ethics of research paneling, Dr. Japos suggested the following: that it's imperative for the panel to be polite and cordial throughout the presentation process. That it's imperative for the panelists to possess expert level knowledge in connecting elements of research so that they do not ask questions unrelated to the current process. And last but not the least, in the ethics of research paneling, Dr. Japos suggests that it's imperative for the panel to exercise diplomacy because they are just invited guests. Consequently, they must refrain from being demanding, difficult, and condescending, or they risk being not invited again. Directive and non-directive paneling. Whereas with directive paneling, the panelist tells the researcher what to do, and they may get the opportunity to have input form part of policy and procedure of the program of study. With non-directive paneling, the panelist gets the point of view of the researcher and then leads him to greater understanding of the topic, thus providing the researcher a climate of empowerment that his ideas are also important to the panelist. Pre-oral preparation for panelists. Among the numerous requirements for pre-oral preparation, here are some of the questions Dr. Japos suggests are imperative for the panel to memorize. Number one, the so-called nuclear bomb questions that target serious errors, omissions, and violations that cannot be defended. Two, the so-called altitude questions that target perspective issues, contribution to stakeholders, and contribution to new knowledge. Three, observations directed at the dean to show absence or weakness of quality assurance measures of research. Four, questions to detect absence of new discovery, practical and scholarly contribution to new knowledge, and questions to detect absence of evidence that the study was written with research expertise by the student and expert guidance from mentors. Diagnosing authenticity and ghost-written research. One of the objectives of the webinar was to bring to the forefront the significance of applying modern technologies in research advising and paneling. Dr. Japos suggested that it is imperative for panelists to look for and use modern research technologies to diagnose authenticity and ghost-written research. Questioning for higher publishability. Dr. Japos could not stress the merits that come with research publishing. Besides the benefits of sharing one's ideas to a vast scholarly audience, getting cited opens doors to greater opportunities that might lead to a lucrative career. Questioning for citation potential. Dr. Japos suggested that it is imperative for every individual who is planning to set out on a research venture to sign up with credible research platforms like Gmail, OSID, Google Scholar, and others. For that is the only way you can know which local journals are publishing articles whose contents are like yours. You can know ways other writers can access your articles. You can know researchers who are interested to cite your paper. You can know if your article has been cited. Questioning for utilization and translation of research. It is lamentable that numerous research papers are sitting on shelves in school libraries collecting dust. Dr. Japos suggested that it's imperative for the panel to ask the proponents questions about utilization and translation of their research. Questions for research ethics. Dr. Japos suggests that it is imperative for the panel to ask the proponents questions relative to research ethics. All the information in this video is based on the notes that were generously provided by Dr. Genaro Japos after the webinar titled Advising and Paneling Techniques that took place via Zoom on 7th to 8th April 2022. We at Lyceum of the Philippines University Cavite are extremely grateful to Dr. Genaro Japos and all the organizers of the webinar for this astounding scholarly amount of knowledge that was handed to us freely. We promise to use it productively to enhance our research process for the benefit of our students, our school, our country, and for all humanity. What is likely to happen now? Great ideas without actions will be futile. The ball is in our court. Thank you. Please be safe all the time.